In the world of rocketry, you've got two titans, born from the same family, battling it out. One has already conquered Earth, the other, well, it's being built to conquer Mars. This is the story of Merlin versus Raptor. I want you to just think about one number for a second, 300 bar. That's the pressure inside a Raptor engine's combustion chamber. Now, what does that even mean? Okay, picture being 3 kilometers. That's almost 2 miles deep in the ocean. The unbelievable, crushing force all around you, that is what Raptor contains, every single second it's firing. This isn't just some random spec. It's the key to understanding why this engine is such a massive, massive deal.
But before we can really get the future, we have to give respect to the undisputed king of the present, the SpaceX Merlin engine. And look, this isn't some fragile experimental piece of tech. This is the workhorse, the reliable beast that single-handedly changed the game for the entire space industry.
You know, the real genius of Merlin is the philosophy behind it. It wasn't built to break every record in a lab. It was a product of pragmatic necessity. It was engineered from the ground up to do one thing, be a super reliable, super cost-effective engine that could just dominate the launch market. And let me tell you, it succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. The Merlin 1D uses what's called a gas generator cycle. It's a proven, pretty straightforward design, which is part of its strength. It burns liquid oxygen and RP1, which is basically ultra-refined jet fuel. And that combination gives it a massive 845 kilonewtons of thrust at sea level. This is the engine that made going to orbit feel almost routine.
I mean, its track record is just absolutely insane. This is the engine that powered the first commercial spaceship to the International Space Station. It's the one that flew the first commercial crew into orbit. It completely turned the launch market on its head for everything from satellites to national security missions, and of course, most famously, it's the engine that made those incredible Falcon 9 booster landings possible, proving reusability wasn't just a fantasy. By any measure, it's a masterpiece. Which brings us to the big, obvious question, right? If Merlin is this legendary, dominant, game-changing engine, why on earth is SpaceX building a new engine to replace it? Why would you even try to replace a legend?
Well, the answer is surprisingly simple. The goal changed. The mission got bigger. See, Merlin was designed to conquer Earth orbit, but the next great frontier, setting up a colony on Mars, is a totally different problem. It's a problem that Merlin was just never built to solve.
Getting stuff to Earth orbit is one thing. Building a self-sustaining city on another planet is something else entirely. We're talking about a huge leap in requirements. You have to go from partial reusability to full and rapid reusability, like landing and relaunching the same day. And here's the kicker. You need to make your return fuel on Mars. It's a concept called ISRU. This isn't an upgrade. It's a complete shift to running an interplanetary airline. The whole rulebook gets thrown out.
And this is where we find Merlin's fatal flaw for the Mars mission, a little thing called coking. Because it burns kerosene, it leaves behind a sooty residue. Think of it like cholesterol building up in the engine's arteries. For a flight every few weeks, you can do the surgery and clean it out. But for a rocket that needs to fly again in a few hours, that gunk is a showstopper, a complete deal breaker. So, to solve this impossible Mars problem, SpaceX couldn't just make a slightly better Merlin. They had to go back to a blank sheet of paper. They needed a totally new engine, a radical new recipe. They needed Raptor. The first key ingredient in this new recipe is methane. So why methane? Well, it's a fantastic compromise. It packs a good punch, and it's pretty dense. More importantly, it burns incredibly clean. No more soot, no more coking problem. But the real clincher, the absolute game changer, is that you can make methane on Mars using the CO2 in the atmosphere and water from the ice. It's the key to refueling for the trip home.
Okay, the second ingredient is where things get really ambitious. Raptor uses an engine cycle called full-flow stage combustion. Now, people in the rocket business call this the holy grail of chemical rocketry. It's so outrageously complex and hard to get right that before Raptor, it had only been attempted twice in history, and neither attempt ever made it to flight.
So how does this holy grail actually work? Well, to put it simply, most engines have one preburner to get things going. Raptor has two. One runs rich with fuel, the other rich with oxygen. This means the entirety of the propellant gets turned into hot gas before it even enters the main chamber. It creates a gas-on-gas combustion, which is wildly more efficient and powerful, and it's also gentler on the engine's parts.
And that right there is the secret to making an engine that you can fly over and over and over again.
So you have the reigning champ, Merlin, and the revolutionary challenger, Raptor. How do they really stack up, side by side? Is Raptor truly the new king?
Well, the numbers pretty much tell the whole story. And this isn't just a small improvement, it is a quantum leap. We're going from an open cycle to that holy grail, closed cycle, from kerosene to clean methane. The chamber pressure triples, the thrust nearly triples. This is a complete generational jump in rocket technology.
But as amazing as the power numbers are, the real revolution is something else: cost. Merlin already made spaceflight way cheaper than ever. But Raptor, if it lives up to its potential, could drop the cost per unit of thrust by nearly 6 times. This doesn't just save money. This fundamentally changes the economics of what is even possible in space.
So here's the main takeaway. Raptor isn't trying to be the best at any one thing. It's not the most powerful engine ever conceived or the absolute most efficient. It's the Goldilocks engine. It's just right. It has the perfect balance of power, reusability, clean fuel, and that all-important ability to refuel on another world. It's not the best engine for every mission, but it is the perfect engine for the mission to Mars.
Merlin made spaceflight affordable and routine. It conquered low Earth orbit. Raptor is the engine designed to make humanity a multi-planetary species. It's the machine that will, hopefully, take the first people to Mars. Which leaves just one question. Once we get there, what kind of engine will it take to get us to the stars?